is that there's the North Queensland Cowboys, who are obviously pretty much done for this year. And first of all, as GM for this club, I'm thinking every club out there has had some pretty bad form this year because they've kept the limelight away from us, which I've really appreciated, being able to do my job under the radar with not much criticism. Because if I'm being honest, and I'm thinking out loud, I think we've had a pretty dreadful season. It's been an absolute balls up, if I'm being brutally honest. Just in terms of the playing wise, I think we've got a lot of things wrong in the lead up to this year. The Todd Payton stuff, I think it's taken him a lot longer than we thought to really get the players to buy into what's happening. The team just looks confused. So it's been a season where it just looks like both on the field and off the field, everyone just looks confused. Look at the JT scenario, for instance. He just, one week he's playing lock for 60 minutes. The next week he's playing on an edge for 80. The next week he plays for 40 minutes. So it's a bit all over the shop. Really needs some stability in there in regards to pretty much everything footy related. It just hasn't seemed to happen this year. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys season so far?
I want to go to that Warriors game where they were trending upwards, and I think Jason Tamalolo wasn't there for that game, and they were versing the Warriors team very much in a similar spot. And for me at the time, you know, obviously which at this stage we are still unsure of that 7 and 8 spot. If I had to make a prediction from that point in time, I think it would have been probably the Titans in that mix. But for me, the Warriors and the Cowboys would have been my two favourites to get there. I just was quite impressed with the Warriors' effort and their talent in that. But we'll stick with, obviously, our team, the Cowboys. We were trending upwards, and that game I thought was huge. And I thought it was a sign of good things to come. They haven't won a game since. They were clicking great. And then ever since then, it just hasn't worked. And we're starting to see the Todd Payton effect happen. And then it just went downhill. Why has that happened? Look, the Tom Dearden coming in, getting rid of Clifford. Clifford was playing the best form. He's was on the best form run that we've seen at the Cows. And look, we understand why that move was made. That was kind of made clear that it was going to Newcastle earlier. But if they knew this was going to happen, look, I think they would have held out for the year, sadly. And look, it's not, I think I mentioned this a week ago on my pod, it's not to say it's Tom Dearden's fault. It's just the timing of it all. But yeah, it's just a few little things that just haven't worked out, and that can't be the main. It's not the only reason. It's a huge reason for me why, actually, because it's just your team cohesion and that. But look, it's just not good enough. It really isn't. It's just so annoying because it's like a mountain, really, man. You're going up, and then just straight down. So yeah, for me, just really disappointing. I've been a huge, like, people that are familiar with what I've done content-wise knows that I am an optimist on the Cowboys, and I call it the Cowboy trap every year. So look, should I be surprised? No, but why I'm disappointed is because I see how they can get to being a top 8 side, and it just doesn't work out. So yeah, very, very disappointing year for me as a Cowboy GM.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess the ways to improve, for mine, they're pretty simple things, yet the simple things are often the things that, if you don't get right, have a massive influence on the season and the results, which we've obviously got wrong this season. But I feel like the first one is obviously just everyone needs to be on the same page. The coaching and the coaching staff need to be on the same page as the players. The players need to respect that, buy in, and go from there. There's too much rumbling. There's always question marks about why the coaches selected this and that. We need to just be, as a whole, as a club, on the same page. As I said, it seems easy, but when you don't have it right, which we haven't done this year, it can really, really impact your club and the season. Look, Townsend and Hiku are both going to add leadership, which we have needed, which seems to be a similar issue for all the teams down the bottom, is this lack of leadership. They're both going to add that, both experienced campaigners. Townsend's going to add what we've missed since Clifford's gone, which is that leader who will lead from the halves and guide the team around the park. Obviously, Dearden hasn't really done that since we've got him over. Maybe after a preseason with Townsend, that might improve. I'm not too sure. Signings-wise, I'd probably target one or two seasoned campaigners when it comes to the back row and some edge forwards. I just feel like they used to have arguably the best sort of back rowers in the comp when it came to players like Gavin Cooper for so many years. And I think they underestimated how important it was to have a really good structured few players in that position. They really just need a couple of really seasoned campaigners for mine in that position and really to stabilize both edges of the field. Where are you looking at improving the Cowboys?
Yeah, when you talk about the edge, it would have been handy for them to get a Capewell. He would have been very handy. But look, I think they need more guys that can make stuff happen, to take pressure off Dearden. Look, it's going to be interesting, that halves combination, if it is going to be a Dearden Townsend fix or Drinkwater's going to stay there, and either Dearden thrives as Townsend as a mentor in the back of the scenes, or Townsend is just, you got to have him out there, and then he's just going to learn he's going to be kind of the understudy when Townsend is, going to be elsewhere. So for me, it is quite tough for the Cowboys because there's different little options that they can do. Like I said, they could have Drinkwater at fullback. They could have Holmes at fullback as well. Because I don't love the combination of Dearden and Townsend, but I do like putting Drinkwater at one and actually utilising Holmes as a roaming winger. I think that's the best way he can be utilised now. I've been one that's actually been quite strong on the fullback stance, but I do think that for me, he just seems like that's his spot now. I like what Cotter and Robson bring, but yeah, I think they hopefully they can utilise them the most to give them more options on attack. The way that they can change up the ruck and the speed of the game could be quite vital as well. And I just probably look at the plan just to best utilise Tamalolo. I think Tamalolo needs to be a Payne Haas. He just needs to be a front rower that does play bigger minutes than what he's playing, and there needs to be a Lucy in there if that's Cotter, if that's someone else like a Connor Watson mould. Obviously, he's off the table now, but someone like that just to give them more dimensions of it on attack. Because if Tamalolo is that front row and used like Payne Haas, I think he is the best front row in the game. We know he's been the best lock in the game, but the position has changed now. It needs to be utilised by guys with shiftier footwork and more mobile guys, basically, an extra playmaker. So for me, just making sure we have the team that best supports our best players in Holmes and Tamalolo and even Dearden, I consider as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Realistic expectations for 2022. And I mean, as a GM, it's our job to sell the club and to get the fans on board. I feel like so far, obviously, we've only done a few clubs with these videos yet, but I feel like this is the hardest one to sell. And I've got to be brutally honest, if this was my job as the GM, that it's going to probably be another challenging year. I know the fans don't want to hear that. We're in the middle of building something we feel like it's going to be special in the next few years. We're going to get back to that success, but Rome wasn't built in a day. We're really on board with getting this to happen. I think we're going to be blooding quite a few more juniors next year by the looks of things, so some patience there. Obviously, we need to have some winners in the club that just know how to win, live and breathe it. But for mine, as I said, I just think it's going to be one of those years again where we'll struggle. We'll probably be down the bottom of the table, and it's going to really take something special to get these young boys on deck and ready to go in basically one pre-season. What are your expectations here? What are you trying to sell for 2022?
Well, it's funny because I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but how realistic, just off the top of your head, how far through do you reckon Tamalolo's into his 10-year deal?
For maybe 4 to 5 years at most.
So if you would tell me, in hindsight, if I'm saying in 4 years' time, what will our goals be? It should be premiership. And obviously that's not where we're at the moment. Yeah, so it's interesting though, because at the end of the day, like, I want to still be selling this club that we can be in the elite, even more than the Bulldogs in the Broncos, because I see how they can get better over time. But the Cowboys, yes, you've got a good point. They're developing a lot of young talent, but a lot of their guys have been there for a while now and established and look really the peak of their careers and probably fading on the bad, gonna into the bad side of that run, I should say. So for me, it's really tough. So look, I think you've got to really bite him in on Todd Payton. I think he's the guy. Just think what he's done for the Warriors and what we saw talking about that Warriors game. Before that Warriors game, we saw improvements and just understanding that we've got systems in place. And what we did this year, there was a few faults, but we did things for a reason. And we've got young talent, like you said, bringing in as well. Yeah, we've seen there's got some great young forwards coming in and got some great young backs as well, actually, as well. I think we had, obviously you got Hamiso. You've got, like we said about the Bulldogs, you've got one of the fastest player in the game, sell that. You got Hamiso. Shout out to Griffin Nee, great debut last week. You've got some Ben Condon. I think he has been tremendous. So you've got a lot of young talent to sell, but at the end of the day, your best players want to win now. So that is a really interesting situation to balance. So yeah, there seems to be two biggest, like we said about Townsend and Den, and one just starting their career, one just kind of at the back end. So yeah, you've got you've got a few different timelines mixed up there. Probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, it really is. It's sort of a little bit all over the shop at the moment for the club, but fingers crossed they can get some things happening. Unfortunately, a team always has to finish last every year, and some teams have to have poor years, but it looks like it could be the way again next year